My name is Grace. I'm 63 years old. A few years ago, I lost my husband and now I'm living on my pension. However, it's not a lonely existence. I've been a part of a choir for years and I have many friends, so my life is rather lively. After caring for my husband during his lengthy illness, people tell me I seem to have found a new lease on life now that I'm no longer burdened with that responsibility. I loved my husband dearly and I would have preferred to have him by my side forever. So there are days when I'm struck by a profound sense of loss. But on those days, I talk to his photo on our home altar or sing my favorite songs, remembering how he used to smile and joyfully listen to my stories and songs. Plus, I have a little secret I keep from everyone. My husband left not just our home, but a substantial amount of money as well. I usually get by just fine on my pension, so I don't worry about it much, but knowing I have a nest egg for emergencies provides a certain sense of relief. I was thinking I would continue to live this free and easy life, but then my son and his wife, who had been stationed overseas, contacted me to say they were returning to the US. And what's more, they wanted to live with me after the return. I was delighted at the thought of seeing them face to face rather than just through video calls, and I looked forward to seeing my grandchildren. But there's one thing that has me worried. It was about my daughter-in-law, Mary. On the surface, she seems amiable and efficient, but I have an inexplicable aversion towards her. It feels like she's two-faced, or sometimes she scares me. But when I listen to friends talk badly about my daughter-in-law, I start to think that my feelings towards her stem from the jealousy I feel about her taking my son. Could it be generational prejudice? With a mixture of complex emotions and with the date of our reunion drawing closer, I reluctantly agreed to live with my son and his wife. I could not have imagined what was to come. "It's been a while, mother-in-law. Please feel free to ask me anything. I'm planning to take care of you." "Excuse me?" As she spoke with a smile, I was taken aback. I didn't intend to be a burden to anyone. Oh, more than that, her saying she'll look after me feels condescending. At that time, I just thought, she doesn't know how to speak properly. But when we started living together, I realized my unease was well-founded. Mary acts very caring in front of others, but when it comes to something as simple as laundry, she behaves oddly. I noticed from the beginning that she seems to dislike mixing my laundry with hers, so I would wash my clothes separately. But I never imagined she would rewash the entire load just because one kitchen towel of mine was mixed in. As she grumbled and put the freshly washed laundry back into the machine, the item she held with such disdain was my kitchen towel. She tossed it aside like it was dirty and exclaimed, "It's going to smell like old woman. This is ridiculous." Another time when Mary wasn't around, I took in everyone's laundry after a brief rain shower. Despite them being almost dry, she rewashed them. "The germs will spread." Tisk tisk, her tongue clicking seemed to be her real nature. I didn't expect a thank you, but this was beyond anything I had imagined. "Do I smell bad by any chance?" I asked my friends, even used a smell detector. My friends laughed it off, and the detector showed much lower values than the standards. "Gross, don't put your shoes in my shoebox, it's filthy!" One day, Mary was removing my shoes from the shoebox with a pair of cleaning tongs. I didn't remember putting them in there, so my son must have thoughtfully done it for me. The heartwarming gesture from my son only fueled my anger at Mary's actions. "Please stop treating my shoes like they're filthy." When I asked this of her, who had tossed aside my shoes laughing, she turned around with a surprised look on her face. "Oh, mother-in-law. Well, I was just cleaning the shoebox and it looked like there was a bug on your shoes, so I tossed them." How she could come up with such an excuse on the spot is beyond me. "Oh, really? I didn't see any bugs. And you were using cleaning tongs, weren't you?" Maybe it was a mistake?" In the end, Mary played dumb and refused to acknowledge her wrongdoing, but the frustration didn't end there. She refuses to let my grandson eat anything I cook. No matter how hard I try to cook something nice, she rejects it with a smile. "You enjoy it yourself," and never touches it. Not only that, she interferes when my grandson tries to eat my food, always finding a reason to stop him. She freely uses the ingredients I buy without a word, always messing up my plans. She takes the ingredients but refuses the food. It seems she wants to exclude anything I have a hand in. In the end, the only person who enjoys my cooking is my gentle son. I'm sure he would listen if I talked to him about these issues and ask Mary to be more considerate. He's very much like his father, and I can rely on him. But I feel guilty bothering my son who works hard from early morning till late at night with such issues. I'd rather he relaxes when he gets home than be bothered by such things. For now, it seems that Mary has no intention of interfering with my son eating my cooking. Even if it's just my son, if he's happy to eat my cooking, I have to tell myself that's good enough. But, don't you dare eat anything your grandmother has made. Hidden from me, Mary was scolding our grandchild. If you eat that stuff, you'll get sick, remember? Can't you hear me? Don't even think about eating grandmother's germ-ridden meals. I always tell you, don't I? Stop berating the child for such unreasonable reasons. It's cruel. I had reached the end of my patience. I tell my teary-eyed grandchild to go outside and play and turn to confront Mary. You always tell him not to eat my food, don't you? My mother-in-law, did you hear something? Mary casually throws out the question. I heard it loud and clear. Eating my food makes you sick? What do you mean by that stuff? We use the same ingredients from the refrigerator and the same seasonings in the kitchen. It's impossible that it could be harmful. But Mary just giggles. I've been tolerating the old woman's antics till now, but perhaps it's time I threw in the towel. It's heartbreaking how you can't understand how much I'm holding back. Despite trying to keep up appearances till now, it seems she no longer cares about showing her true natures. Mary crosses her arms, sniffs, and humps. You're an old woman, nearing the end. You should just stay in your room or something and keep quiet. You're so full of energy, always out and about, cooking even when not asked, so selfish, and hoarding your property like a miser. I thought if we lived together, you'd at least share a little with me, but you're totally clueless. Mary frowns and spews one terrible word after another. Not satisfied, she stomps her foot and shouts, Hey, anyone would understand if they just thought a little. What are you, a numbskull? Shocked, I stood there. It's true, even my friends comment on my high energy. I love physical activity, not just singing, and often go out for walks. Being out and about is my own business, right? I don't have any expensive hobbies, and I'm not causing any trouble. If my cooking bothers you, I'll stop, but talking about my property is crossing the line. Am I a numbskull? Then what about your remarks? In fact, I'm totally fine with not living together. If you're not happy, you're the one who should leave. Despite using things I bought without paying me back, when I confront her, Mary laughs loudly. Look at Granny trying so hard to complain. If you want to kick me out, go ahead. But remember, while you're alive, you'll never see your precious son and grandchild again. With a threatening low voice, Mary leaves with a victorious laughter. Unbelievable. I never thought my daughter-in-law could be so rotten. But I've decided I don't need to hold back anymore. A week later, when I returned from choir practice, I heard Mary's laughter from the living room. Perhaps she was talking on the phone again, bad-mouthing me. You know, our old woman still hasn't kicked the bucket. She even went out for choir today, but honestly, it's a relief. She's an eyesore and noisy, but I can't die before her, right? She should hurry up and die, whether she ends up in heaven or hell. If only her heart would stop during choir practice. I was deeply disgusted by Mary, who was laughing vulgarly and lounging on the sofa while saying such dreadful things. But she seemed oblivious to my presence and continued to speak disturbing words in her crude laughter. Right? If she's going to disappear, she might as well drop dead outside in one breath. Actually, my husband's in the way too. Like you said, I've been increasing the salt content little by little, even secretly adding it to the old woman's food, but nothing changed. What? It takes years? That's annoying. We can't live together forever at this rate. Pouting, she spoke in a coquettish voice that made me clench my fists. I want to introduce a new daddy to our child soon. For that, I'll fight to seize the inheritance. This was unthinkable. Not only does she see me as an obstacle, this wicked woman was betraying her own husband. I stood beside my lounging daughter-in-law and shouted, Get out now! What are you? Startled, Mary tumbled off the sofa, appearing to hit something. So you're back, huh? Attempting to gloss over the situation, I reasserted my command to Mary, who was now forcing a laugh. Leave this place now. Just joking, mother-in-law, no way. Don't make me repeat myself. Stand up. At my command, Mary jumped to her feet. Of course she did. I was, after all, the former leader of a renowned choir group. I've been holding back, practicing my vocal exercises at the riverbank, during my walks and completely abstaining at home due to living with my son and wife. It wasn't unreasonable for her to be surprised, but I won't lose to anyone when it comes to lung capacity. Attention! Mary shuddered, probably loathing the idea of following my commands, but as someone who had long served in a leadership role, I knew how to command without leaving room for debate. Exit! Eek! Wide-eyed, Mary, clutching only her smartphone, hastily put on her shoes and bolted out the entrance. But a formidable foe indeed. A few hours later, Mary returned, grinning smugly after apparently seeking help from my son at work. Mother-in-law, have you calmed down? I mean, we were just having a lively conversation about a TV drama with my friends. It's so mean of you to misunderstand. It was astonishing to me that Mary could maintain such audacity even after what had happened just moments ago. However, I couldn't revoke what I'd already declared. I responded icily, "What do you want? I haven't departed for heaven yet, so it's pointless to come and check." No, mother-in-law, that's terrible, such a joke. No, Mary, I understand your true intentions very well. I had a vague idea, but thank you for spelling it out for me. Even with my old spinning head, I understood perfectly. Then, Mary, frustrated by my cold demeanor, started to say, "I told you it's a misunderstanding." I gave Mary a sweet smile in response. "You mean this, that you shared with my son?" What I revealed was a video of Mary on a call a few hours earlier. The audio was perfectly recorded. In Choir, we regularly record videos, share them among the members, and discuss improvements. Even beyond the age of 60, such operations are a cinch for me. Mary likely thought an old lady like me couldn't possibly do something like this. Seeing Mary flustered and opening and closing her mouth like a fish, I pounced without mercy. "You moved in with us, not just spreading bad rumors about the house owner, but planning to ostracize me. Plus trying to harm my health by oversalting my meals. I knew something was off, but it was your doing, wasn't it?" "What? No, that's shame on you!" I shouted at the top of my lungs for the second time that day. "What?" My son silently handed a divorce paper to Mary, who was now slumped down. My son, usually calm and gentle, becomes silent when he's angry, and that usually indicates an irreversible situation. Before the divorce papers written neatly in his handwriting, Mary began to tremble. "No, listen, it's all a misunderstanding, right? I even followed you abroad, and I'm living together with you, right? We have a child, too. Isn't this too much? Hey, listen." Mary desperately clung to my son, but he silently shook off her hand with a heavy sigh, retreated back into his room. Mary, who had nowhere to go, sagged in disappointment. If I left her alone, she would probably freeze up like a rock. To Mary, I said, "It's not like my son was oblivious either. He'd been investigating why his overseas assignment was abruptly shortened and his appraisal downgraded." "What?" Ignoring the strange noise from Mary, I continued my story. "So you called your affair partner all the way overseas, and you even started commotion at the hotel you were staying at. The head of our business partner saw through it and misunderstood that you were fooling around with men. With his son's approval, it's no surprise you were removed from your position." Mary couldn't refute, as it seemed she remembered something. "That misunderstanding has finally been cleared up. It seems there's talk of you getting assigned overseas again. Do you understand? Even without our disagreements, it was already over between you and him, and no matter how kind he is, he wouldn't want to keep someone around who wishes he would disappear quickly. Here, pen and ink." I cut her off sharply and urged Mary to hurry up. Several weeks later, after the divorce proceedings and claims for damages were completed and things had settled down, Mary outrageously showed up at our house in broad daylight. She's really an unrepentant person. "Return my child!" Seeing Mary yelling with a loudspeaker in front of my gate, I felt dizzy. "Everyone, this mother-in-law here falsely accused me of things I didn't do and drove me, the daughter-in-law, out, even took away my son." The yowl of the neighborhood stray cat Miko can be heard along with the loud noise. As Mary continues her crying act, people passing by give her a wry smile. "At least please return my son. I painfully gave birth to him." Just as my son had taken my grandson out to the zoo for a change of scenery, to prevent my grandson from being upset, I stood up to silence Mary. "What do you think you're doing? Please go home. You're a nuisance." If an outsider saw this, I would probably look like the perpetrator, but I don't care. "Oh, mother-in-law, please stop. I can't live without my husband and son." "Your pathetic performance is quite a sight, all for naught, you know," I told her with a smile, and Mary suddenly fell silent. "Oh, is that so? Say something like that, you know. You'll need care eventually. I recommend trying to win me over while you can." Where does that confidence come from? I, the ever-changing one, don't understand. When I shouted back, I thought Mary would lose her patience and get angry, but instead she mimics crying. "You're so mean, mother-in-law." Like the crying woman in a movie, Mary dramatically yells, making me sigh. "Right, I did do something terrible to you. I'm sorry." As soon as I said that, Mary abruptly stopped crying and smiled smugly. "You finally understood. You have to cherish me." Sure, I really do feel bad. I meant to only share it with my son, but I accidentally, out of habit, sent the video to my choir friends too. I don't think you know, but our choir is large and we have many members in the area. Some of them even have family members working at the police box, you know? Oh, over here. Sorry for the trouble. This is Mary, who was plotting my son and my downfall. Couldn't you take her away? I introduced Mary to the young police officer who rushed over. What? No, why? No, I don't want to go to the police. Stop it! However, there was no way the police would ignore her making such a fuss with a loudspeaker in front of her ex-husband's house. I had consulted with the police box beforehand about such a thing and had also apologized to the neighbors. So she had been laughed at from the start, not even knowing she was the crazy person playing the poor daughter-in-law. Help me! Mary continued her odd little play until the end, but I didn't receive any bad words from my caring neighbors and those who were concerned about my grandson. On the contrary, after my husband passed away, I was able to talk to some people who had become somewhat distant, and I was delighted with the unexpected gain. Afterward, Mary, who ended up penniless instead of inheriting anything, seemed to have been dumped by her lover and was seen loitering around our area a few times. However, she couldn't bear being laughed at and has stopped coming recently. According to rumors, she's now living a lonely life in a small apartment. As for me, I decided to accompany my son and grandson on his overseas assignment. I considered selling the house, but I want to have enjoyable conversations again with the neighbors I've grown fond of, so I'm renting it out. And my grandson seemed to have been afraid of Mary, who was easily irritable like a wicked witch when the two of them were together, and surprisingly, he easily accepted a life without Mary. I want my son to find a kind wife soon, so I felt reluctant to be with them as I might be an obstacle to a new encounter. But since my son and grandson rely on me, it seems that our days of gathering around a delicious table as a trio will continue for a while.